Do you want to draw something that really looks like it's glowing so that you can basically feel it through your display? A beam of light flooding your eyes, your character kissed by the surrounding glowing objects. Essentially, you just want to make your art pop. And one of the easiest way I like to do this with is to add some glow effects. But how exactly do you draw them? I have a super easy 4-step technique that you can steal from me, even though I'm showing examples with digital drawing tools and I will give some specific tips for that. Most of the stuff can definitely also be applied with traditional art supplies, so no worries. First of all, we're gonna observe. We're gonna look at something that actually glows and take notes. Good. Secondly, I'll show you my secret, but also not so secret, easy peasy technique based on that. After that, learning by doing. I have a little Speedpaint as an example where I directly implemented that stuff. And finally, I'll show you some example artworks of mine with glow effects where you can see how I did it there. If you like that plan already, maybe consider leaving a follow. I appreciate it a lot, but without further ado, let's get started. Here's an example of your typical glowing object. Can you already recognize what makes it look that way? The one thing you probably immediately recognize is that the object is blue, but how do we know that when most of the object is white? That's because the outside of the glow is blue, namely a highly saturated one. So what we want to take note of is that the actual color of the glowing object appears super saturated towards the outside of the glow with a soft gradient that transitions outwards. That transition outside into the environment is a decrease in opacity, but also appears as if the blue is getting darker because it's mixing with the background. Compared to that, the inside, or rather the core of the glow, is basically white or close to white. Both the blue and the white are super light, but you get more saturated the more away from the core you go. We talked about how the blue seems to get darker the more outside you go, since it mixes with the background. Well, speaking of the background, it's dark. That glowing orb really pops off, and one of those reasons is definitely that the contrasting darkness around it highlights the glow. But that's not the only thing the background does. The environment reacts to the light. We see that, for example, in the reflections on the ground here. The closer to the light, the brighter the surrounding stuff. Easy enough. Glows can look pretty differently though, maybe, especially depending on what is glowing, but in my experience, most of the glowing things I see behave around this way. Alright, now that you're absolute glowing ball pros, the question now is how to transfer that into a painting. Yes, I promised you an easy peasy technique, and that's what you're gonna get in 4 easy steps. First of all, slap a dark background on that baby. Why work hard if you can work smart? Something that glows looks even more like it's glowing in the dark. You can go ahead and not do a dark background, you're free to do whatever you want. I mean, you can just not listen to me at all, but I mean, why would you do that? Next up, think about what color you want that glowing object to be. On the color wheel, you want to choose a super light and super saturated version of that. In my color wheel, more saturation means going more to the right. This means there are more color pigments in that area. The opposite of that would be to go grayer, hence more desaturated, which we don't want yet. Going lighter in my case means going up, combine the two, and you have the nice spot. And now just slap that on there, maybe with an airbrush. In the third step, you want to stay super light but get more desaturated. Effectively, that means moving closer and closer to white. You'll then lighten your object up in the center, or basically wherever the glow is coming from. It's really your style choice how close to white you want to get. I feel like the closer to white you go, the brighter it looks, which might not be the look you want to go for. Maybe you want something to be glowing only faintly. Then I recommend not going as much to the left, so not as close to white.
But Laura, this is not an actual object that's glowing.
Literally, just do the same thing for an object. To prove my point, I'm now drawing in 3 spheres and coloring them in, of which only the middle one is glowing. I didn't change anything else from before, and now the ball is glowing. Ta-da! Last but not least, have your environment react to the glow. In my case, this is the 2 spheres next to my glowing ball. In your case, this might be something completely different, so use lighting and shading on the surrounding objects to further emphasize that there is indeed something glowing. I guess reacting to the environment can also mean how to fade out the glow of the glowing object. I just used an airbrush, which means that the opacity of that saturated glow decreases the more outside it goes. Depending on whatever tools you use, also even traditional tools, you might also just want to go darker with that saturated color outside, especially if you have a dark background. You can also just try to mix it more and more with the background color. This especially applies if, despite my recommendations, you have a light background. I guess just mix it more and more with whatever color your background is so that it looks like it fades out. Bonus tip for all my digital artists. Play around with layer modes. Most digital art software has some sort of layer modes. In my case, for Photoshop, they are here. They basically alter how the layers interact with each other. I'm not even going to tell you what exact layer mode to use. I just switch it up, honestly, all the time. Depending on my piece, one layer mode looks better than the other. I found, though, that I often use add, overlay, screen, color dodge, soft light, or hard light, but again, just play around with them. I've also combined different ones in the past before, meaning I made multiple layers with different layer modes and did effects there. I'm gonna change the layer modes of the glow effect for the ball and of the lighting on the surrounding objects now to show how this can look in this piece. And in this case, I actually thought overlay looked the best. You have now learned the 4 easy steps on how to draw something glowing in theory. Now let's apply them. Here you can see a pretty quick and simple speed paint I made for the sake of this video. You will see all of the steps applied at some point. I decided I wanted to make her hair glow. And the first thing I did was, of course, to make the background dark. With that, step 1 is done. Then I chose that the color of the glowing object, in this case the hair, should be this pink-purple color. After adding some basic lighting and shading in the water without considering the glow yet, I slapped a highly saturated pink on and around her hair. With that, step 2 done. You also see me play around with the layer modes here. In the end, I chose to go with hard light in this case. After that, I moved closer to white in the color wheel, hence more desaturated, and apply that in the center of her hair so that we have that transition of desaturated inside to saturated outside. With that, we did step 3. You also see me fixing the transition of the saturated pink into the background. I tried making it a bit smoother. That means we're getting into step 4 territory. I erased some bits of the glow on her face, not completely, but I made it a bit less because it was a bit too much in my opinion. I added a few almost white strands as highlights to add some more crisp to it, basically adding on to step 3 again, honestly. After that, I added reflections to her face and body due to the light coming from her. Then I even added the reflections on the water based on the glow this time. With that, step 4, meaning all steps have been completed. Everything after that is refining and tweaking some details. For example, I'm adding the shadows, of course. What I also like to do sometimes is add some particle effects around the areas where the glow hits the environment. In this case, the cheek and shoulders, since those are highlighted the most. I feel like that imitates how some air particles, flying dust and stuff like that reflects the light in strongly lit areas sometimes. And there we go. This is how you can actually apply the 4-step technique. Okay, this was a piece that I specifically made for this video, but have I ever used this technique in the past? Spoiler alert, yes. Here are some of my paintings from whenever. Some are really old actually, some are newer, where I have done glow effects in the past, and in most of these, I think you can see I applied something similar to create that effect. I hope this video helped, and I hope to see some more scrumptious glow effects in your art soon. If you try to apply this technique, feel free to share it with me in my art Discord server. If you haven't joined yet, definitely check it out. Let me know in the comments if this video was helpful and leave a like to show me that you enjoyed it. I have a whole playlist with art tutorials and art tips if you want to see more of the sort, and leave a follow and turn on the notifications to not miss the next video. By the way, I try to be live every week, so make sure to join sometime, and with that, that's it for today. Now get to drawing. Bye!